Rabbi Saltoun, can you tell me what is Kabbalah? How is it different from any other religion, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, etc.?
Yes, I would like to start with what Kabbalah is not, and that is an easier beginning. And really, Kabbalah is not a religion. That is very important to stress, because a lot of people think that Kabbalah has to do with Jewish mysticism. Now, from the Kabbalistic point of view, as I said, Kabbalah is not only not a religion, but it is also not considered mysticism. Then how does it relate to Judaism? That is a good question. Well, Kabbalah, if I can define it, is something that can be defined as a universal cosmic wisdom, which is the essence of all religions and all wisdom that we know that exists in the universe. So, that being said, Kabbalah does not belong to any specific religion. It cannot and shouldn't be labeled as Judaism or Jewish mysticism. Why? Because the main intention of the Kabbalah is to demystify all the mysteries of the universe, of the creation, and especially of man.
The word Kabbalah, what does it mean?
Well, now we go back to the origins of the Kabbalah, and we know that Kabbalah is connected to the Hebrew language, to the Hebrew nation. That is why, in some sense, Judaism being the first monotheistic religion, there is a very strong connection between Kabbalah and Judaism and the Hebrew language, the Hebrew nation. Even the word Kabbalah comes from Hebrew, which means to receive. But here, if I may open another dimension that has to do with the two sides of the coin. And we talk about the parallel universe. So everything that we see, everything that we experience has at least two sides. The external, what our senses experience and see and capture. But there's also another spiritual, internal, more esoteric dimension to everything, to the meaning of words, to the existence of any physical thing. So the Kabbalah, on one hand, can mean to receive, but on a more internal spiritual level, it also means acceptance. And this is a very strong point, that Kabbalah, besides all the books, all the wisdom, all the knowledge, has to do with a state of mind. So it's not only the knowledge that we know, or a doctrine that we follow, or a method, or a religion. It is eventually the state of mind. So Kabbalah, in essence, means self-acceptance. The state of mind, self-acceptance, where we as human beings, we stop fleeing or trying to escape from ourselves, from who and what we really are.
And would you know when it started?
Well, that's it. Talking about something so universal and cosmic, we're talking also about a wisdom that is beyond time, space, and motion. So really, there is no beginning point to the Kabbalah in the linear concept of time. But we try to find a certain point in our history and relate the Kabbalah to a very great person who we all know. His name is Abraham the Patriarch, and he is the founder of all monotheistic religions. And one of the main purposes of the Kabbalah is to try to go back to the essential message of Abraham about God, about monotheism, about believing in God. Who is that God that he met, that he encountered? And why, after so many thousands of years, and we're talking about 3,800 years after monotheism was revealed to the world, we are still struggling with this concept of God, of faith, of wars, attrition between religions, And that is the point of ignorance, spiritual ignorance, that the Kabbalah wants to deal with, address, and help us heal from. How? By simply going back to the essential message of Abraham that apparently we have derailed from, tragically.
And how do you know it started with Abraham?
Well, we have a book. We have a book that is called the Book of Formation, in Hebrew, Sefer Yetzirah, that is related to Abraham the patriarch. And in that book, that means all Kabbalists, for the past many thousand years, they base all their knowledge, all their wisdom and spiritual experiences based upon that book, which is the most profound guidelines that we have in relation to Kabbalah. The Book of Formation.
So, would you say Kabbalah is similar to Sufism in Islam or Christian Kabbalah?
Well, once we transcend, again, the pragmatic, dogmatic way of seeing religion, whether a person belongs to the Jewish faith, the Christian faith, Catholic, or Islam, doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the past 2,000 years, we all went through a certain, if I may call it, brainwashing, which is negative in the sense of religions oppressed and suppressed our thinking process, our desire to know creation, to know God. And what we went through is a process of believing blindly in the existence of a God out there that we do not necessarily know, but we have to obey His commandments. And this is what created this fragmentation and separation between the esoteric wisdom of all religions. Now, even though we say Kabbalah is a Hebrew word, but as we said, it does not belong to a specific nation. The Kabbalah is not a book, it's not a religion. The Kabbalah is a state of mind where a person is able to transcend, to heal himself first from this blind faith, and to transcend all the separations that unfortunately religions created between the nations. And then we see that the language of the Sufis, the language of the Buddhists, the language of the Kabbalists, they all speak the same language. Because finally we are dealing with one reality. And that reality is the reality of the oneness of the Creator, or the God that we are trying to reach, to access, and from where we want to absorb all this wisdom, all this knowledge that can help us to understand who and what we are.
So would someone have to convert Kabbalah?
Well, that's it. I mean, the conversion, again, is something like changing teams or going from one club to another. It is a very superficial, artificial way of living. And the Kabbalah, once again we transcend these separations and these walls, these barriers between all nations, we understand that truly there is no need to convert to Judaism or to any religion for that purpose in order to learn Kabbalah. The example that I give to stress this point is we are like an aeroplane that is flying with one wing. And we can understand that. We can go around in circles too many times. So what the Kabbalah does, it actually only adds another wing. That wing which is missing for the plane to have a smooth cruise, a smooth flight, and to fly or to cruise or to go in life, flow and go in life in a much more balanced way. And that is a key word, balance. Spiritual balance, mental balance, emotional balance, physical balance. That is the state of mind that we all want to achieve and reach. Through our balancing of all these elements, we are able to transcend all our limitations limitations that have to do with fear, ignorance, phobias, mental and spiritual and psychological obstacles that we have placed upon our mind, and now is the time to remove it.
So would you say that Kabbalah works in conjunction with other religions?
Definitely, for sure. So once we are able to understand the language of the Kabbalah and the Kabbalists, then we can see all what is in common between all religions. Now, just to stress this point in relation to the Bible and the commandments and the revelation of God on Mount Sinai. So when Moses spoke in the name of God on Mount Sinai, his message was a universal message to all mankind, not to one specific nation and not to the others. Because if we say that God is universal, then his message is universal.